keep this as brief as possible. First, thanks to Montgomery County on behalf of B&L for the opportunity to work with you. We really appreciate the work, and we're hoping that we can bring you a completed, approved plan soon. Over the course of the last several years, the Montgomery County staff put together a draft local solid waste management plan. In fact, I think they started on it pre-COVID and then worked through till about last year. A year ago, you retained us to finish up the local solid waste management plan and get it submitted to DEC. We briefed you on the plan late last fall, and then we submitted it to the DEC on December 10th. On May 8th, we received DEC's review, which consisted of a substantial number of questions and comments relating to the waste and recycling data that we included in the plan, county contract operations and the status of those contracts, the county's waste importation policy, the website, the lack of a local countywide mandatory recycling law, which I want to talk a little bit more about, and hauler licensing, and then an insufficient, they say, exploration of alternatives. We can very readily handle the DEC questions on the data. In fact, what we're using and we're required to use is all the data reported by private haulers and private disposal and recycling facilities to the DEC. There's a portal that they enter all that data on an annual basis, and that's what we're required to use. Alyssa takes all that data and puts it in a format that is acceptable to DEC, and she's already gone through and either answered the questions that DEC raised about the data or changed the things that were necessary to put the data in the form that DEC wants. And we met with the county staff, Ken and his staff, and they were able to help us just get the current information on your contracts for operations, the import policy, the website and public information. And there were a lot of good ideas generated there that are going to help us get this thing through DEC. The more time-consuming effort and thing that is going to require some policy calls by the county is the evaluation of alternatives. And this evaluation, it's required by the state regulations. It specifies 15 categories of alternatives to be evaluated for quantitative and qualitative impacts, the need for new programs, and a schedule to implement new programs. I'm not all that comfortable standing up here telling you what the state is requiring, because it's a state requirement. It's not something I'm bringing to you. It's not your own requirement that you've enacted in the past. It's a state requirement. But these are requirements that are in the regulations, and it's very clear that DEC wants localities to implement new programs, and they are at least requiring the evaluation and consideration of new programs. And the state DEC has asked specifically about Montgomery County not having a mandatory recycling law. Just a note on that, the New York State Solid Waste Management Act of 1988 was pretty much the landmark legislation in New York for all things solid waste and recycling. And it required that every municipality in New York State by 1992 enact a local law or ordinance that requires the separation of recyclables from non-recyclable material, so that that recyclable material can be recovered through a materials recovery facility, a MRF or recycling center, and made into new products. And so they've been pressing the enactment of those laws, and Montgomery County did, as far as I know, and I think this is true, didn't enact that kind of local law. Now, one or more of you municipalities may have, But I'm not aware of anything that would relieve Montgomery County of that obligation to enact a mandatory recycling or source separation local law, separating the recyclables from the waste. I'm not a lawyer, I defer 100% to the lawyer, but I think if you told me, well, every town, village, and city in the county has one or would have one, I think that would suffice, but excuse me. Montgomery County is the designated planning unit that's recognized by DEC, so that's who they're going to go to. You're the one that does the plan, and you administer a county-wide solid waste management system. So they're going to come to Montgomery County, and in fact they have in the letter that they've questioned the county's plan for actually enacting and implementing a county law. We can help lay out a path to get to a local law that meets the needs of the county, and I think reflects as much of your own decisions about how that law should work. Your county attorney has already reached out to me, read a number of local laws, I've provided a couple, and we've talked back and forth about some issues online, and she's very much starting to take a look at it. But it's going to require a decision by you to move forward. I think there's a path where you should look at some alternatives of things about that local law. Who does it apply to? Residences, businesses, industries. How is it phased in? How do you articulate the materials that are required to be recycled? One of the things we just talked about is there is an economic test in the state law that says that all these things have to be recycled if it's economically viable, basically. And right now, as Megan pointed out, recycling in many instances is more expensive than disposal. So we can help you take a look at that. So the May 8th letter that we got from DEC was a bit of a setback. We thought between all the extensive work that the county staff had done several years ago and over the course of 7 years combined with what we put together should have provided an approvable plan. DEC didn't see it that way. So we think we can provide a way to get this approved. We'll have to, the local law will be a very important part of it. But we have another client that faced a very similar review from DEC that we received in February, I think, Saratoga County. And we had long conversations with DEC about it. And what we finally did was developed, you can't see this, but I'll just give you a sense of the scale of it. A spreadsheet that has all 15 of those alternatives that DEC requires you look at. And then basically this is the number of things, I think there's 18 or 20 columns of the analysis that you have to do for every one of these items. So we just put our nose to the grindstone, worked with the county, and basically filled in everything. Now a lot of, in the case of Saratoga County, a lot of what they said was, we don't have the funding to do it, these alternatives. And one of the things that DEC pushed them very hard on was to hire a recycling coordinator. And DEC does provide the potential for paying 50% of the salary and benefits, but that still leaves 50% as a county share. So we analyzed that, we talked about the economic impacts and the qualitative impacts. We did some more things with respect to their website and public information, and they approved it. DEC approved it. So our thought would be to do something similar for Montgomery County. budget. Your contract with us to prepare the plan was $25,000. We've billed you to date $24,787. We've spent an additional $17,000 that we haven't billed you for, and we're gonna take the hit on that. But we're proposing to you a contract amendment and budget of an additional $12,000 to work with you on the local law and to do basically something like this for Montgomery County, which we think can get you an approval and get you over the hump. I'm not happy to be here asking for more money at all. I've worked with local governments my entire career, over 40 years, and I don't like it when local governments get put in this position, but it's where we are. We appreciate the work. We'd like to continue working with you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Sir?
So did Saratoga County hire the recycle coordinator?
No.
Okay.
They tried 2 budget years, I think, 2022, 2023. The Public Works Commissioner put it in the budget, but the board did not approve it.
And being that the other municipalities have their own waste management system and recycling and stuff, why are we the lead person and not in, 9 different municipalities and then the villages?
I'm honestly not aware how many of your towns, villages, or cities have a mandatory recycling law. I don't know if you remember, Alyssa, in the plan, we noted that I think there was Amsterdam
like
does.
the bigger ones, but I'm not sure about
So how did the county end up the lead? And
Well, I think your last local solid waste management plan was prepared by MOSA when you were a member of MOSA. And that was in 94, 95. I think when MOSA dissolved in whatever it was, 2013, 2014, each county was then designated as the planning unit and the lead for solid waste management. You do provide solid waste transfer and disposal services at your 2 transfer stations. And that's considered by DEC to be on a county-wide basis.
Any further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussions on tonight's agenda? No? All right, we'll go right into the resolution. First resolution, authorizing the county executive to sign a revolving loan fund agreement for Maine Madden Beauty Salon. Can I have a motion and a second? Legislator Polchek, second. Legislator Sweet, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, discussion, I'm sorry, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. That has moved on to next resolution, resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an abstract work authorization with Bartone and Lodge DPC for professional service, local solid waste management plan update. Do I have a motion?
I'll sponsor.
I'll second. And, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, moves to full board. Last resolution, resolution authorizing the county executive to sign an agreement for construction services with Walter Elwood Museum Trail. Any discussion? No discussion, motion and second. Dan and, Mayor Kowalczyk.
I do have a question for Ken.
Go right
Ken,
ahead.
how, the grant, is this grant that's referred to on the opening line, 50 from the Department of ENCOM? How much is left?
The full shot.
The full shot?
Yeah, the full shot, sure.
And it's intended to be used, the full shot for this?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, and I need a motion
So moved.
Second.
Adjourned at 6:15. Thank you.
Let's call Physical Services Committee to order. The floor is open for discussion. Hearing none, we'll go right to our first resolution. Resolution authorizing the county exec to sign an agreement between Gloversville Joint Wastewater Treatment Facility and Montgomery County Sanitary District 1 for sludge treatment disposal. Legislator Sweet, Legislator Kelly. Discussion. All those in favor of moving to full board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same, so moved. Next resolution, resolution amending the 2025 operating budget, insurance recovery funds, public works. I'll sponsor it, looking for a second. Legislator Kelly. Discussion. All those in favor of moving to full board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, so moved. Next resolution 4, resolution establishing an intern position and amending the 2025 operating budget for data processing. I have a sponsor.
I have a question.
I'll sponsor.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Has this position, is there somebody intended for this position, or it's going to be posted, or?
It'll be posted.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Legislator Kelly.
The database administrator, is that position open or wasn't filled for the entire year, or?
That person is gonna be leaving at the end of the summer, so that's where the extra funds are coming from.
And it isn't planned to backfill that?
I'm planning to, reduce it to a part-time. So it'll be posted, it'll be reduced, either way, there will be extra funds there.
And you think it'll be desirable in the posting at a part-time position? Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving it to a full board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Item 5, resolution amending the 2025 operating budget for CHIPS, Consolidated Highway Improvement Program.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Kelly. Legislator Fowler. You have a question?
I do. Are there any carry forward from previous years, or?
Legislator Kelly, I believe I have that into the financial impact.
Yes.
The carryover from 2024 was $1,693,000.
And that's being worked out now? Like, that's all being expended now?
1.3 of it's already gone,
Okay.
according to the road.
Any other discussion?
No? We can do a vote.
Right, all those in favor of moving to the full board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything on the other? Legislator Kelly.
How are we with the Frontier thing? Is that all resolved?
Oh, yes, that's all been finished. Billing is what we expected it to be.
Okay.
So we still have a minor footprint, which we expected, but all of the large bills are gone.
Okay.
Dan, Commissioner, where do we stand on, we met with the individuals, I think, in mid to late January, maybe early February, on Switzer Hill situation. Anything going on there?
So, the last discussion I had with Chris Cornwell from GPI was he was preparing a plan and a cost analysis to submit to New York State DOT for feedback back from DOT based on it intersects with their highway.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen any communication back and forth between Chris or the traffic safety engineers out of Utica in a little while, but I can certainly reach out to Chris tomorrow and ask him.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just ride herd on that thing, I mean, obviously the ball's in somebody else's court now, but, you know, we talked about it pretty in-depth that day with all the parties involved and the municipalities, and we'd like to just see it
adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Kelly? Slater, Marie?
All right, we'll call the Public Safety Committee to order. First thing on the agenda is discussion. Anyone would like to have anything to discuss pertaining to this committee? I'd like to invite Judge Hadwell to come speak to us a little bit about centralized arraignment.
Good evening. I am Judge Hedwell. I represent the Montgomery County Magistrates Association. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about off-hour arraignments. Off-hour arraignments are so unpredictable here in the county that they're putting a burden on this public defender as well as the sheriff's department. We're looking at going towards centralized arraignment. And I would like to thank the county exec as well as sheriff, Bill Marisol, public defender, and the district attorney for meeting with me and discussing the opportunity to put a plan together. We thought this was going to be an unreachable goal, but we stand before you tonight with a resolution hopefully supporting this endeavor. The benefits of having a centralized arraignment would streamline the process, giving a defendant an opportunity to have legal counsel at first appearance while kind of doing a session in the morning and in the afternoon instead of all hours of the day running around like we're firemen. I mean, we're in the process of trying to be efficient. The way we're doing it is not efficient. So to try to step back and look at what other counties are doing and follow their lead, but also put our twist on it a little bit as an association. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. All right, we'll move right on to resolutions. First resolution is a resolution amending the 2025 operating budget. I'll sponsor. Need a second?
I'll second.
Legislator Kelly. You can feel to jump in at any time you want, Sheriff.
This is Martin.
This is Martin's wish. I'll get back on my soapbox.
It's all right.
All righty. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
I have some discussion.
Oh, okay.
Sheriff, just recently in the paper, they talked about, I think it was Hampshire School District having like a rifle, team at school. I mean, is there something down the road that we could be looking at with some of the different schools?
Yeah, we certainly could. We could do an MOU with one of them with the county attorney's approval if the schools were interested, certainly.
I mean, because at one point, a lot of schools had ranges in their schools, and now they don't. I mean, with
In the
this
basement.
money being put toward this, I mean, I don't know if there's a goal that we could be looking at down the.
Sure, we're willing to partner with anyone. As long as it didn't interrupt our regularly scheduled training, we could work around it.
And then 4-H has a shooting sports program also, and they currently use Pine Tree Rifle Club, but sometimes there are scheduling conflicts, so.
I would think the key would be the county attorney and coming up with a written agreement and certificate of insurance and proper instruction, certified instructor on the, things like that would be appropriate.
Resource officers.
No.
It's a rifle range, not a Glock range.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Move that to the full board. Next resolution is a resolution amending the 2025 operating budget with E911 reserve funds. I need a sponsor.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Wilson, Legislator Kelly. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Move that to the full board. Next resolution is a resolution establishing a full-time temporary deputy sheriff position. I'll sponsor. Need a second.
I'll second.
Legislator Pollock. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Move that to the full board. Next resolution supporting creation of a centralized arraignment plan for town village court arraignments in Montgomery County. I'll sponsor. Need a second.
I'll
Legislator
second.
Kelly. Discussion.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I know in the past, this has been floated around, and there have been some grants through the magistrates. Is there still grant money available through the,
The grants that you're, I think you're talking about are JCAP grants.
Mhm.
Those are for the physical buildings of the court themselves. They would not, we're talking about a cap. So this is a centralized arraignment part, which in a lot of the counties, they're done in a county facility, but we're taking a little twist on it.
so then would the grant qualify for retrofitting the designated space of a county building to,
You could
implement
use-
this?
You could use cap money towards improvements, towards like a body scanning machine, those types of things. We can do things collectively as an organization. But it's more for the physical building type atmospheres than anything else.
Do you have anything to add, Jeff?
No, I was just gonna answer the question, but Judge took it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Move that to the full board. Next resolution, a resolution amending the 2025 operating budget and establishing a deputy sheriff position in sponsor.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Pep, Legislator Hempel Jr., discussion. Kelly?
so in the past, we've given out stipends for attorneys on call because they're going all over the county to do these arraignments. Would having centralized arraignment now, would there be a need for those on call?
Sit behind you.
So don't get confused about the centralized arraignment words, because in this county, the plan that's established is the judges will be using their own courtrooms for the arraignments. So the judges that agree to be part of the process will be on call, and Judge, correct me if I'm mistaken, they'll be on call and it will rotate to those specific townships or the village of Canterbury, depending on which judge is on call for that period.
Okay,
So it won't really be centralized, it'll be more consistent with a certain court.
and they'll only process from this time to this time and that time to that time?
Correct, and then it'll rotate to a different court. And then it'll rotate to a different court. So it could be in St. Johnsville today and Amsterdam next month and Glen the month after and so
But,
on and so forth.
but if the cutoff is 7 o'clock, anyone after 7 o'clock would wait till the following?
So there are still certain situations where an immediate arraignment will be required by law, but those will hopefully be very minimal. In the short term, barring those specific incidents, they will be put into the facility under a local law that's already on the books as a pre-arraignment detainee, and they'll wait till the arraignment time in the morning. But there are certain circumstances that we'll still have to conduct, depending on the crime or depending on the requirements for victims, things like that.
So then this should, for the most part, eliminate the weird hours.
For the most part,
For the most
on paper, yes, correct.
You have anything to add, Bill?
I didn't see you back there.
Sometimes it's better to keep my mouth closed.
Come on up.
So to address what you're saying, Martin, the centralized, the morning and evening arraignment, we haven't picked an exact time yet. I think we're still in discussions with that. But, for example, in Fulton County, they start it at 7 PM and 7 AM. And the way our on-call stipend is written, that if you're in court after 8 PM, so if the arraignments are taking place at 7 PM or 7:30 PM, they wouldn't get a stipend, okay? So
And-
effectively, it would greatly reduce the amount of stipends that are being paid, because the idea is that they're not gonna be in court after hours.
And that's where I was thinking that if we're reducing the stipends, then it could help offset some of the cost.
Yeah, there could be cost savings from that, and also I think there's another related resolution here, is there not, that involves the municipalities sharing in the expense of the sheriff to be hired sheriff, is that correct?
There is not another resolution for that, but, there is?
There is, yeah,
There is.
it's an
Okay, the
add-on.
county attorney put that in, not me.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
Another way to offset it as well.
Okay.
By the way, well, we'll talk about that when it comes up.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Move that to the full board. Next resolution, a resolution authorizing county executive to enter in contract for RFP 08 of 2025 radio communications tower site work. I need a sponsor. Legislator Pollock, Legislator Wilson, discussion. Anything to add, Sheriff? Pretty basic?
No, this is the tower at the sheriff's office, and, our radio provider has said that the tower was overloaded, so we did an RFP, we received 4 bids, this is the low bid, our radio provider is confident with the work plan and the work schedule, and this is covered by a communications grant, so it's a win-win, we're gonna be able to beef this tower up and hopefully solidify things moving forward for years.
Nice. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Move that to the full board. Next resolution, resolution amending the 2025 operating budget, establishing 2 full-time positions, public defender. I need a sponsor. Legislator Pep, Legislator Walczyk. Discussion. Martin?
How many full-time attorneys will this bring you up to?
I'm sorry, what's that?
How many full-time attorneys will this bring you up to?
4.
Okay.
So these are also fully grant funded.
But there's a reciprocal that happens.
Thanks, Mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Move that to the full board, and we all have an add-on on your desk. And it's a resolution authorizing the county executive to enter into memorandums of understanding with municipalities in Montgomery County. I'll sponsor, need a second. Senator Pollock. Discussion. Go ahead.
Have these, have they agreed to this?
That
or-
was my question, that was gonna wait for the sheriff, but how far along are we in these discussions?
So we wanted to get the ball rolling on this early. There's a shared service grant that comes out November 2024. We've been working with Ken's office on this, and that will pay, we're eligible for up to $250,000 over 3 years, which will cover the majority of this deputy's salary for the first 3 years if we share this deputy with the municipalities. So we had a meeting last week and a discussion with several of the towns. I know the county executive has reached out to the other town supervisors on this, and we've had a positive response so far. So optimistic that we can get everyone to jump on board, and those discussions are ongoing, but so far we've gotten some positive feedback, and we've gotten, more importantly, or just as important, positive feedback from DOS on this concept. We've run all the steps past them, and this seems like something that we will definitely be eligible for as long as everything goes our way. So what we're hoping is that this gets us through the first 3 years of this program, and we can reassess at that point.
So is it one grant, or does each municipality have to apply for the grant?
We would apply for everybody.
Okay.
Like garbage.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Move that to the full board. Anything under other? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
MKMK.
Okay, I'd like to call at 6:34, I'd like to call to order the Health and Human Services Committee. This is a committee of the whole. First on the agenda is discussion. Hearing none, we'll get into our 2 resolutions. First is a resolution amending the 2025 operating budget for mental health. We have a sponsor, Legislator Pollock, Legislator
Kelly.
Kelly.
That's it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That will move on to the full board. And our final resolution is a resolution amending the 2025 operating budget, again for mental health. Sponsor, Legislator Wilson and Legislator Pollock. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And that will also go to next week's full meeting. Next on, anything under other? Hearing nothing, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Legislator Kelly and Legislator Pollock.
Okay, I will call the Personnel Committee to order at 6:37. First up is discussion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. First resolution authorizing a transfer of funds for workers' compensation audit costs, self-insurance fund. We have a sponsor, Kelly and Michelle. Nicole, you still there?
So again, this is once again an audited report for payroll, and we are still short $31,000 for premium. So this is, I'm using the funds out of the budget to offset the cost. I have some ideas for next year's budget, but I'll reserve those for a different forum.
Martin?
Will this increase premiums on other people who participate in our insurance fund?
This will increase premiums? No, not at the moment. But this is an audited claims of the entire plan.
Okay.
Anybody else have any discussion? Hearing none, motion to send to the full board?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. And then we have an add-on. The add-on was the resolution, or the resolution was the information that Chairman had brought up last week or last month, a resolution authorizing a salary adjustment for elected officials effective on commencements of a new term. We have a sponsor.
I'll sponsor.
Sponsor, was it there? And a second?
I'll second.
Second, okay. Discussion. Mike?
How do you wanna handle this? One at a time?
This would be fine, however you wanna.
Well, it's your committee, but that would be my idea.
Okay. So we can start with the county exec. Current salary is $110,000. The information we have is $132,275.
Now, I will say this, I did have a discussion with the executive, subsequent to our meeting last month. He modestly and conservatively indicated that he wasn't interested at this point in time in any kind of increase for this salary, but I reminded him that this is not, his decision, it's ours, and we need to keep in mind, the position itself, not the individual involved, and, where the average median salary stands in the survey of the counties that were surveyed. And, I think we should consider some type of increase just to keep the salary moving along on the continuum, so that it's in a position to attract an individual in any kind of circumstance, like we saw happen on the last term, where somebody stepped out and, we had to hire somebody else. So, that's my take on it. Now, as far as a dollar amount, I think we should agree on that together.
Chair,
What's that?
I missed last month's meeting.
Yes.
Where did the suggested salaries come from?
Oh, we all got this, is it in your thing or no?
Oh, it probably is.
Yeah. It's a peer group study for the county executive, Broome, Chautauqua, Chemung, Oneida, Rensselaer, Schoharie, Sullivan, and Ulster.
Okay.
And
So all counties similar size to ours?
yes, the peer group average, you see it there, 141, combined average 132. So, to me, it's obvious it needs a little tweaking at the very least. I don't wanna, executive, do you wanna speak on this at all?
Well, you know my feeling about that, and I realize that pay raises are given to the position, not the guy, but it's likely I'm like the next guy. And I'm good with where it is now, but, that's my feeling. I pretty much, you said it very well.
Well, even better coming from your mouth, obviously, 'cause
Yeah.
they're your words.
I'm comfortable where it is, sir.
We all have to remember, a lot of these salaries have been where they are for many, many years.
Yeah,
I mean, many years.
yeah. Yeah.
As legislator Duchessis would say, the
Yeah.
ghost of Christmas past.
Well, I mean, that's one thing I mentioned, and I don't wanna get the cart before the horse, but as it pertained to the legislative positions. It's been a dozen years, it's been the first cycle, but let's concentrate on the executive at this point. I mean, are we waiting for somebody to propose an amount?
I'm just gonna say, why don't you put a number up?
I was going to, quite frankly, my recommendation last month for our tiers was to go up 5,000 on each, one for the chairman and for the legislators, while still remaining well below the median, in an effort to reflect some conservatism. But, so, you know, when I discussed this with the executive, I told him that's where I was going to recommend for the legislative positions, and I said, you know, at the very least, you know, should bump this executive salary the same amount. Now, if anybody feels it should be more, speak up.
I was waiting for you to come up with a number. My number for the county exec was gonna be 125.
Okay.
But that's the number I was gonna throw out.
Yeah. Well.
We have a salary study, and, you know, it's a full-time position, and I think we need to keep in mind that this person is managing the county, and there are other positions in the county that, you know, we need to keep compensation proportional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are you comfortable with Legislator Headwell's recommendation, or do you wanna go beyond it?
I think, isn't there a proposed in there already?
No.
Yeah, there's-
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's proposed by the salary study, yes.
I mean, that's what we've been basing,
Everything on it.
yeah.
I agree, I think you should stay with the combined average for the
Okay.
salaries, only because that's what, like Mark said, we've been doing that for all positions throughout the
We
county.
have.
So I don't see why you would treat these positions any differently than
Oh,
others.
I'm only talking on the top line.
I mean, I'm having no problem with it. Does anyone else have problems saying with the 132, 275 then?
Well, how about 130?
130?
That sound? Martin, what are you sighing about? It's okay.
Now, the next time that we're gonna look at upping this is going to be potentially in 4 years. By then, what is inflation, what is cost of living adjustment, what is,
Okay,
But we've been
I'm
going-
trying to be the voice of
But our
conservatives.
average increase each year on a lot of other contracts has been about 3%. If you
Sure.
go 3% over 4 years,
Sure.
that's $12,000. You're going from
Yep.
110 to $12,000, that would be 122. So this is still, you know.
that was after we made the adjustments because of the salary study.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not against it. I just wanna make sure everybody's for it, that's all. All right? So the
other
number on the table for that one is 132,275. We'll vote on them all at once. Now, go ahead, Bob, I'm sorry.
So we're gonna say with 132, 275?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next one would be the county chairman.
I think 20 is fine.
Okay, Martin?
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody object to that or no? No? And on the legislators, I think 15 is fine.
Martin doesn't care.
Martin's got a.
No, I do care, and some of me wonders, is it because the salary is what it is, why we have nothing against anybody in the room, but, you know, it's been difficult.
To get candidates, period.
Yeah.
True. I just was looking to preserve the original proportion between the
I know.
two in the essence of,
I mean, it does look like a big jump, but if you take into effect, that salary has been that salary for.
a dozen years.
No, more than that. It was the Board of Supervisors.
When I was a supervisor, that's what we got paid.
Okay, see, my little soliloquy last week was these salaries were established in 13
No.
for implementation in 14.
No.
Under the new structure.
They may have been, but they were that before.
They were that before that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So I'm just,
all right, well
that's,
then
that's
let's,
that's a long time.
well then let's, I don't know, let's go with the recommended amount, let's go with the recommended amount.
If you're gonna do the combined average on one,
You have to do them for
I
all,
would
I
definitely
would
do it
say.
Yeah.
Can someone refresh my memory? I'm jumping.
I believe you're talking about the county chairman, if you stay with the recommendation, is that
I'll wait then.
21,312.80?
Yeah,
The next one, the headquarter position, I have some major problems
Well,
with.
Are we
they're
okay
gonna
with-
do
we're okay with the-
legislators.
with the recommendation of the salary study
So far,
for both legislative positions?
Yep.
Okay,
So as is.
Okay,
thank you.
the headquarter position, I have a lot of problems with, because the fact is, I even reached out to, some former coroners and talked to them a little bit about this, and there is not much difference in the two duties between what they do. One, the only difference was one did the book work, and the other one didn't do the book work. And you're gonna pay $12,000 or $20,000 more, $20,400 more between the two. There needs to be a lot more responsibilities. Are they gonna transport everybody, they're gonna do,
So in different counties, do they have different responsibilities? Is that why
they must.
the change?
Well,
Nicole?
they're elected, right, so there's no actual like job descriptions that I could provide to the company. But typically, this is what they're seeing, that there is a significant difference in responsibility between a head coroner and a coroner. And I don't know whether Megan can opine on the charter, there is a difference in the charter as well.
Yeah, the head coroner acts as the department head, but you're right, there's not a significant difference in their duties.
I'm just wondering, because of how the average came out here, we're at 10 and the average is 30. Do different counties have different responsibilities for their head coroner to make up that difference, or is it that just the going rate per head?
I'm not sure, I'm not sure what other counties have done. Nicole, you would probably speak better to that.
I mean, based on the company that did the study, and they looked at, all I can tell you in regards to this is that they looked at the counties that were listed, and these were the salaries that they were paying for those. I could do a little bit more research, to see, but there is a distinction, and perhaps that's why, well, I know that's why there's a difference in salary, but, again, whether they're taking into consideration other counties may have multiple coroners and only one head coroner that they're representing, so.
On this, I would have no problems giving the headquarter 15,000 and the other one 10,000, but to pay them 30 and 10 is, I think is,
And I can do a little bit more digging before next meeting.
Yeah, if you wanna set that number, and then you can maybe give us an idea of the other counties may have added responsibilities or different job duty or job title, but.
all right. So for the sake of the resolution before next week's meeting, 20 and 15, correct?
no, I said
15 and 10.
I said
Or
15 and 10.
sorry,
15 and 10.
10,
So that's what you want in the resolution?
Yes.
as the,
I got you.
adjusted, or, adopted. All right.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor of sending to full board?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye, no.
Wait, no.
Anything else under other?
So moved.
Second.
I call the Education and Government Committee to order. Is there anyone, legislators or people from the public wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll move right along. First is a resolution requesting legislation expanding residency requirements for sheriff deputies and corrections officers. Is there a sponsor?
I sponsor.
Chairman Pep, seconded by Legislator Sweet. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried. Next is a resolution setting the date of a public hearing on FMCC's proposed 2025-2026 operating budget. Is there a sponsor? Legislator Pollock, seconded by Legislator Wilson. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried. Next is a resolution confirming appointment to the Fulton Montgomery Community College Board of Trustees. Is there a sponsor?
Sponsor.
Legislator Pollock and Sweet. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried. Is there anything under other? If not, motion to adjourn, Legislator Kowalczyk and Wilson.
All right, on behalf of Legislator Majewski, I will call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. Is there any items open for discussion? Hearing none, our first resolution and only, resolution approving abstract of audited claims. Legislators Kowalczyk and Wilson. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I did, Martin's request, last week or last month, make sure that we were equipped with our dashboards, as a means of, beginning to open up dialogue about budget process, just to give us a look-see where we are. You all have them in your packets. I will say this, the sales tax report is encouraging. I did a little math, and we are $1.4 million over same time last year in sales tax payments. Keeping in mind that payments received earlier in the year, as is the case every year, pertain to the prior year, but we're comparing apples to apples here. So that's encouraging. I mean, as far as the dashboards are concerned, you know, we haven't looked at them in quite a long time, and some of the dialogue involved with them. We know the situation when it comes to the 60 to 90 day lag on the state and federal reimbursement as it pertains to our receivables with them. You know, our expenses looking pretty good. The only one that's really noticeable is education, which is, as the notes indicate, half of, we've paid FMCC, and we haven't caught up with the payment. We pay them twice a year. So other than that, you know, nothing too alarming here or on any of the sub dashboards. For the building, or the road fund, the road machinery fund, and the health insurance. So we do plan, I went and talked to the treasurer the other day about these and about the budget process. You know, we do have a situation where we have an exec who is not used to the budget process, and the finance chair who is, you know, looking to be involved for the first time. I did speak with Sean about, I'm gonna have, you know, the information is not gonna come in from the departments until the end of July, beginning of August. And I think that's a time that we can begin to have little workshops because we'll have information in. But one thing I'm going to do preliminarily is sit down with Sean and with Legislator Majewski and with the executive to simply begin the process of identifying for them, you know, the hot buttons, the things that they need to be focusing on as estimates are coming in from their departments and these requests. And the nature, you know, of the things that we have control over and don't have control over, like how much fund balance to use, staying within the cap, the tax cap, and, how much sales, you know, as we've always talked along the many years, there's so many things we can control here. You know, the real estate taxes are what they are, the sales taxes are what they are, so those are the elements we use to balance the budget, right, and the fund balance. So, and then want to pull people in, to the situation so that we can begin setting expectations with the executive, you know, while you're filtering through your departmental requests. You know, it's probably gonna be a year where you're new, you know, and new from a standpoint of, you know, you may be tested by your department heads with a lot of requests. You know, what can we get out of the executive? What are his limits? You know, so these are things we have to stay, on top of, you know, as we enter this situation, using the checks and balances that we already have to operate within, which is, you know, a tax cap and, not wanting to exhaust fund balance. So, I just wanted to make everybody aware of that at this particular point in time, so.
Chair, do we
Yes.
know if DSS is up to date on state and federal?
On the notes, I don't, right off the, claims received and recorded through March on Fed. State claims and received and recorded through March,
So that's
which is
typical.
60 days from, you know, the end of May. So it's within the pattern.
Better than
They're
that.
better than the history was in the past. Is there anything anybody else would like to discuss? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.